Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Sage presentation. If ever there was an afternoon for staying in cooking, this is it. Lovely weather out there, so you're better off in and paying attention and enjoying our master chef, Lesley Daniels. You all should have your ingredients lined up. Mixing bowls to the ready, scrapers, mixers, whatever you need, all your utensils. I know that Howard's got his pinafore on, so we can start now. And Howard, already geared, ready to go? Let's get on with it. Lesley, over to you.
Thank you, and welcome to my kitchen. Today, we're going to do two things. Those of you who are cooking along with me, we're going to make a Greek cheese and spinach dish. And after we've made that, and that's safely in the oven, I'm going to demonstrate a cheesecake. Just to start, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about why we eat dairy foods at Shibuwat. I always felt it was just tradition, but when I looked it up, I find there are dozens of different reasons. But the one I liked most, I think, was that when the Torah was given, there were rules and regulations. There were instructions about kashrut and shechita. And because the law was given on a Friday, there wasn't time to make all the utensils kosher because previously we didn't need to. And so a dairy meal was served. But there were literally dozens of other interpretations. And I think possibly Rabbi Elchanan will enlighten us a little bit further on that when he speaks to us. As far as I'm concerned, it was always tradition, and I like tradition. I think that's very important, and it glues us all together. Right, without further ado, we're going to get to the cooking part. I can't see you. Hopefully you can see me and can see what I'm doing. If anybody's got any questions or they're not sure, please just shout out, because I think that will be the best way to make yourself heard, and you can get the answer, if I know it, there and then. Okay, so today we're going to use phyllo pastry, and I'm sure most of you know what this is. In fact, I think you probably all know what it is. The important thing about using phyllo is we don't normally make our own. In fact, I don't know anybody who makes their own. You buy it frozen, you keep it frozen, and before you use it, you thaw it out very thoroughly. But while you're using it, you keep it covered, because as you can probably see, it's very flaky and it's very fragile. And so I asked you to have a clean tea towel to cover your pastry with while we're waiting to use it. And I'm just going to do that now so that it doesn't dry out. If it dries out, it does tend to break quite badly, but you can patch it up. Okay, I'm using frozen spinach, which is here. I have just defrosted it in the microwave, or you can just leave it out. It's very important, if you're using spinach, that you get out all the excess water. Otherwise, it will make your recipe very wet. So I'm going to just drain it now over the sink. And as well as just popping it into there,
Lesley, sorry, Lesley, can I just ask, if I've got fresh spinach, do I just do nothing with it?
Well, it wouldn't, you could have cooked it, Marlene, but it really doesn't matter because it will be cooked in the oven and it will just need to be chopped up. But right, what I'm going to do now is I'm just pressing out all the water from this. Because if you don't do that, as I said, it will make your pastry soggy, and we don't want soggy pastry.
Can I ask a question, Lesley? Is that
Yeah.
frozen chopped spinach or frozen leaf spinach?
Well, normally I would use frozen chopped, but at the moment all I could get was frozen leaf. Doesn't really matter because it is going to be chopped very shortly. And I am actually going to pop it into my machine to chop it, because when I did it by hand, I found it quite difficult to get it fine enough. So I will show you that in a minute. But you can see quite a lot of water I pressed out. Get rid of that, we don't need it. And there we go. I'm just going to put that on one side. The next thing we're going to do is cook our spring onions. 2 bunches of spring onions, which just need to be chopped and fried in a small frying pan, which I've got ready. I'm just going to switch it on. And while that's just heating, the butter's melting, I'm just going to chop up my onions. Now, if you're doing this all by hand, you need to chop your onions really finely. Because I'm going to whiz them into my machine, I don't need to be quite as careful about that. So I'm just doing them quite roughly. For speed, really. The other thing I should say is I asked you to have a round pan. I'm using a tin that I use to do pizza on, that I make my pizzas on. But you don't have to do it in this shape. And if you would rather, you can just layer it up in an oblong casserole, which you've greased. But I'm going to be a little bit more ambitious, and I'm going to try to make it in the shape that the Jews from Greece traditionally made for Shavuot, and that is a spiral. I'm cutting up some of the green part of the onions as well, not just the white. And I don't know, how are you doing with your onions, guys? Anybody like to tell me?
Lesley, can I just say, should the butter be in the frying pan? Melted in the frying pan while chopped?
You should have 1.5 ounces of butter melting ready in a frying pan, or any pan, doesn't have to be a frying pan, whatever. And we're just going to lightly saute those in a moment. And I'm just meanwhile still chopping. My problem is I don't talk and chop as fast as I can chop when I'm not talking. So maybe I'll just apply myself to the task. I don't think you can see. I will show you in a minute. I'm sure you all know what chopped spring onions look like. I can hear my butter bubbling, so I'm just going to move it off the light for a moment. Okay, as soon as you've got your onions chopped, you can start gently frying them. They don't take very long. I'm just finishing chopping now. Howard, if yours are ready chopped, I hope you're frying. Okay, I'm just going to pop mine into the pan over here. Right.
Lesley, if for any reason you haven't got chopped spring onions, can you use ordinary onions or red onions?
Sure you can. I'm a great one for improvising, Joy, and whatever comes to hand. But right now I'm standing just sauteing them gently. And while I'm doing that, I've got my 4 ounces of butter, which we're going to use to brush the pastry with. And I'm just going to melt that at the same time. So that will be ready. Right, I don't know if you can hear, but my onions are sizzling along nicely. Okay, now, is everybody up with me? Are you
Now,
all
how do I
up?
know when my onions are fried?
Well, 3 or 4 minutes, Howard, will be fine, because it will be going in the oven, so it doesn't need to be too long. Mine are nearly done. And my butter in my pan is nearly melted, which is good. Okay, so my onions are just nice and lightly fried, which you can see. And I'm just putting those to one side and going to switch off my melted butter. Okay, right, now basically this is really what can I say? It's an assembly dish, really, and pretty well everything is going to be put together. All the ingredients, everything except our sesame seeds, now is going to be mixed together. Now, when I tried this out just to check it through the other night, I found it quite difficult to chop my spinach, as I said before. So what I'm going to do, in order to get a very nice fine mixture, I'm actually going to put mine all into my food processor and just give it a very quick whiz. So that is my spinach. Okay. Which I'm just going to...
Lesley, can I just ask again about the spinach? First
Yes.
of all, do you still need 500 grams if it's fresh spinach? And second of all, do I need to chop it all up?
Yeah. Why do you need to
No, you actually need more than that if it's fresh spinach. You should, frozen spinach is about double the fresh spinach. So you're going to be a little bit thin on the spinach.
Because it's 2 huge bags full.
I know, but the trouble with spinach is it starts off as a huge bag full and very quickly disappears into not a huge bag. So, you may be a bit light.
You get the blade, where's the blade?
But, it will make it will be a problem. Okay, so I'm going to put my onions into the machine together with my spinach. That's 2 of the ingredients. And then we're finished with that pan. Then I'm going to put my 2 eggs in. I'm going to crack those into a glass separately just to check.
Lesley, a bit
That's
slower,
okay.
please.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'm just putting my spinach in. Then I've got to put in my onions, yes?
Yeah.
Lesley, we can't
Yeah.
put the onions in yet. My Magimix is plastic. It's too hot. The onions are hot.
No, they'll cool down. Put
Will
your
they?
spinach in, then throw your onions on top. It'll be
Oh,
fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
That's my second egg going in. Okay. And then my feta cheese, which I'm just going to roughly chop and then put in the machine. Again, just need to drain off any moisture if you're using feta. Feta's the genuine version, but you can use any cheese. You can use a nice, well-flavored cheddar, or you can use
Can you hear me? Oh, she's disappeared now. That's good.
it's mute, it's frozen, and spinach.
Sorry,
Lesley, you froze
Lesley?
for a minute. Go back on what you
Lesley,
said.
you're going too fast. I've just put into my Magimix the
Yeah.
spinach, the onions, and 2 eggs. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Now get your cheese in. Just chop your cheese up a little bit, Howard, and get that in.
Right.
And
Hang on
then-
a second. Where's the cheese? It's in here, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw it out, didn't I?
Leslie, has it got to go into a machine?
How much cheese?
Leslie, because my machine's too small to take all this. Has it got to go into a machine?
Only because it chops it more finely, but you can chop it by hand, Marlene, or you can chop it in 2 lots. Chop your spinach and then just tip it into a big bowl and chop the other. Okay.
Right, and the same with the cheese to be chopped.
Everything is going to be chopped, yes.
Oh, chopped all small, everything.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
The
Okay.
thing is, it's not quite so important to get it very fine if you're going to do it in a roasting dish. But if you're going to roll it, as I am, you get a better roll, a more even roll, if you chop it finely. That's why I'm suggesting that you use the machine, but you don't have to, okay? And if your roll is not perfect, believe me, mine weren't perfect the other night. Right, now I've chopped up my lovely fresh herbs, roughly. I washed them and chopped them. I took off the very coarse stalks first, okay? Now that's going to go in. All right, and all we have left now.
Lesley,
Yes.
I've just put my feta cheese in. I've now got the eggs, the cheese, and the spinach in my mixer. What else do I put in?
Well, we're going to put our salt and pepper, and I think it was.
What did you say about the herbs?
Yeah, chop those a little bit and throw those in as well.
Yeah, I've done those.
And your salt and pepper.
That's the dill, isn't it? It's the dill.
Yes, dill, yeah.
Yeah. That's gone
Salt,
in.
pepper, and half a teaspoonful of ground nutmeg. Nutmeg is often
I haven't got any nutmeg. You didn't put that on the thing.
Didn't I? Sorry.
No.
Well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you haven't got it. Don't worry about it. But nutmeg is often used with spinach. Sorry, but I'm just going to put a little bit in. Okay. And now you should have everything in your mixer except your sesame seeds. Okay, and of course the pastry. And I'm just going to put my mixer on very briefly, it will do this very fast, so it won't make a noise for very long. Okay, now I'm going to, so that you can just see what it looks like. Okay, can you see that? Nice, creamy
I see.
mixture.
Oh,
Okay,
I see.
right. So it's all like a thick, creamy mixture. And I'm just going to tip it out of my mixer and into a dish so that I can see what I'm doing.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, just
Okay, so the filling is really simple. It's basically just cooking your spring onions in butter and whizzing it all together very briefly so that you get a nice smooth mixture. Now the next bit is the fun bit, because this is the assembly. And this really depends on how well you're doing with your phyllo pastry. Okay. Now, if you bought the right sized phyllo pastry, you should have a roll, which I'm now going to unwrap very gently. And it will stick a little bit and it will tear a little bit, but don't worry about that. Just, we can patch it all up later, but treat it gently. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'll just move my camera slightly. There you go. Right, can you see I'm just gently trying to unroll my beautifully rolled up phyllo. Oops. Wow. Ah, that's not too bad. It's come apart quite well. And you should have, but don't worry about counting because it's really not that important, but you should have about 12 leaves of pastry. The outside one will always stick a little bit. Or a lot.
Do you separate the leaves?
We will be separating them, Howard, but we do them very gradually. Right, now, first of all, I'm going to just grease my pan with a little bit of the melted butter, which is in my little saucepan here. I'm just going to brush it
where's your
on.
melted butter?
I think I grease that pan.
Okay, so my pan is now greased and I need that there. Now, basically what we're going to do 2 sheets of pastry at a time, and we're going to put butter between every layer. Now, phyllo is a very dry pastry, as you can see from the way it's very papery. And if you don't use butter, it will just be very dry and a bit like cardboard. So although this does use a lot of butter, it's not something which we make every day, or at least it's not something I make every day. And so for Yontif, I don't mind being a bit extravagant with the butter. Okay, now I think I'm going to pull my pastry to one side like that and just work directly on my scrupulously clean worktop, and take my first sheet of pastry, which is a little bit torn, but we don't have to worry too much about that. And I'm going to brush it just roughly with butter. Now again, if you don't get into every single corner, not a problem, okay? And then I'm going to put a second sheet of phyllo on top. This is sheet number 2. Oops. There you go. It's a bit like tissue paper. Okay. You should have the long end. Sorry, I should have said this before, but you need to have the long side of the pastry facing you. And then I'm going to brush the second sheet. And then I'm going to put some filling on. Now, the filling...
Lesley, I'm still chopping.
Sorry?
I'm still chopping.
Still chopping. Never mind, Mom. Have you got a sous chef there?
No, he's on something else. He's doing washing soon.
Oh, gosh, you need a sous chef in your house, Marlene.
I know. What can you do? Can I borrow yours?
I'll send him round. I don't guarantee he'll be much help, but I'll send him anyway. Right, now, keep on chopping, Marlene, and don't worry, you'll catch up. Our mixture is going to go between 6 different rolls. So what I've done is I've just flattened it out in the serving, in the bowl that I put it in, and I'm just roughly with a spoon, and again, it doesn't have to be exact, I'm just roughly going to divide it into 6 portions, because we're going to use one lot. I don't think you can see that very well, but I can see it. And just so that we get more or less an equal amount on each set of 2 sheets. And I'm going to take the first portion and I'm just going to spread it along the front edge, just along the edge of my pastry. I will try and show you that in a minute. Okay, I don't know if you can see that very well, but I've just spread it in a sort of 2-inch wide line along the almost to the edge of the pastry. And then when I've done that, and again, don't worry if it's not terribly neat or if it's not perfect, doesn't really matter. But then we're just going to fold it over and roll it up a bit like a Swiss roll, so that we've got a nice long tube of pastry. Now, if you decided you were going to put this into a dish, you would have fitted your pastry into the dish, done 2 layers.
Do we roll 1
on.
sheet or 2 sheets? Do we roll 2 sheets? 2 sheets.
Yes, you roll 2 sheets. You put one on,
Yes.
put one out, Howard, brush it with butter, put on the next, brush it with butter again.
Done that.
And then, done that, excellent. And then you want to brush the outside of your roll as well.
Right.
Right, okay. Now, I'm just going to do that on the work surface, and I'm going to turn it over.
This is egg.
When you've brushed the outside, I'm going to, because I'm going to do mine on a round pan, I'm going to start curling it a bit like a Catherine wheel. So if you start at one end and just very gently, and this is why you need to keep your pastry covered, okay? Very gently, just roll it up. I will show you as best I can. And then I'm going to pop it with the best side up onto my tin. Okay, can you see that? I've just rolled it up. Okay, and then we're going to continue in exactly the same way with the rest of the pastry, 2 sheets at a time and the 6th of the filling each time. And then we're just going to continue building around the wheel. So I'm taking another sheet of pastry. You just work at your own pace and don't worry if you get left behind a little bit, because it's easy to catch up. Yes.
You said you were going to say if you didn't have that round tin, if you just did it in a dish.
Yes, I did say that.
What did you do then?
Well, you just line your dish with 2 sheets of buttered pastry, put in some of your filling, or in fact, if you're going to do it in a dish, maybe do it in 4 lots. So put 3 sheets of pastry each time, buttered in between, and just fold it into your dish and drape it up the sides so it looks like a pie, okay? And just sandwich each 2, 3 layers, if you're doing it in a dish, with 1/4 of the filling. And basically what you're doing, you're building up a layered pie. Now, this pastry is not coming apart quite as easily as I hoped, but hey, it is now. If you can't peel it from one side, just try the other side. You'll often find that that will release it. And I'm just going to cover that up to keep it dry. And I'm on my 2nd roll. And again, I'm going to put a 6th of the filling just along the edge of the roll. And then I'm going to roll up my 2nd one carefully. There we go. And brush it again on both sides. Now I'm going to add this 2nd roll to my Catherine wheel, and I'm just slightly overlapping where I left off and very carefully wrapping it around. So now it looks like that, okay? And I'm just going to carry on with the next one. How are we doing for time? Oh, time is overtaking us. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the cheesecake I'm going to make, just to save time. There are literally a million cheesecake recipes, and I'm sure everybody has got their favorite. I've tried out lots of different ones. Last year I made a very rich one, which was delicious, but somehow, to me, that didn't really feel like a Shibuwat cheesecake. It felt more like a dinner party dessert type cheesecake. Because I'm very traditional, and I do like the old-fashioned traditional one. So today I'm doing Evelyn Rose's version of the one that my mother used to make, which I'm sure was an Evelyn Rose recipe. Evelyn Rose is my go-to book. She's absolutely terrific, never goes wrong, totally reliable. And I know lots of brilliant cooks far better than me, who say that Evelyn Rose is their, if you like, their reference book. Okay, so I'm now rolling up my third roll as quickly as I can. I'm going to butter it on both sides. Some people, instead of doing this or baking it in a dish, when they've made their rolls, they cut each roll into 3 pieces.
Lesley, you've frozen. I don't know what you can do about it. That's it, you're back again. Okay.
Lesley, you have to repeat about the 3 pieces because you froze after the you froze after the 3 pieces.
Okay, I'm not sure if that was my third or my fourth. I think it was my third sausage that just went on. And now I'm doing the next one. Just quickly.
You said something about the 3 pieces.
Oh yes, sorry, yes. You can, if you prefer, make just individual portions, and each sausage shape you can cut into 3 and just bake them individually. And then if you didn't want to use them all at once, they will freeze very well, and you can take them out as you want to use them. I think that's what I was saying. This is my 4th one, I think. I think I seem to have more than 12 sheets of pastry. I think that's my problem. Right. Now.
I'm just starting my 4th one now.
Oh, well done. Good. Okay, mine's just gone on. If you're doing it in a baking dish, leave a slice for the top and tuck in all the bits that will be hanging over the side, and then put a buttered piece of pastry on the top. And then if you've got another one, put a second one as well, just to make it look nice and neat, so that you end up with what looks like a pie. And in fact, it is a pie, but it's a Greek pie. Okay. Right, this is my 5th one. Again. Oh, I should have told you to set your oven, and I should just go and set my oven. It's 190 or regular 5. And I'm just going to switch my oven now. Okay. The other thing I should say, if you're using a flat surface to bake on, I always think it's worth putting something underneath it in the oven, at the bottom of your oven, in case it drips. That's all, just to make it easier to clean your ovens when you've finished. Okay, this is my 5th one.
Lesley, is that 190 with a fan or just an ordinary?
It's that, I guess, is probably ordinary. So I would, I don't think Evelyn Rose ever distinguished between fans and ordinary. So I would a little bit lower, Joy, maybe 180 or 175. Okay, and the last one coming up. Now that's interesting because this lot of pastry had more than 12 sheets in, but there you go.
Your picture has frozen again, Lesley.
Leave it in for quite as long. I don't think you can do better than just check on the oven as you're using it. Okay, so there is my last roll.
Lesley, when we've got the rolls in, do we put butter on the top?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yes. Butter everywhere. What can I say? It's not a healthy recipe. I'm not claiming this is healthy, but most of my recipes are, so you have to forgive an unhealthy one every now and again. Okay, and my last piece is going round. Okay, that way, and I'm just pressing it together, and now I'm just going to brush over the whole of the top very quickly with the bit of butter that's left, and I'm going to wash my hands because I'm very buttery. Okay, how are you doing, Marlene?
I am on my second lot of 3 sheets.
Okay, keep going. Are you doing it in a dish, Marlene?
I'm doing it in a dish, yes.
Okay, fine.
I've done my 4.
Too fiddly to do it the other way, so.
Yeah,
Lesley,
well, no, I quite agree with you.
I've done my 4, and I've put butter over the painted it with butter.
Excellent. Now you should sprinkle the top with 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds.
Yes, just sprinkle.
Can you show it to us, please, Lesley? So
Will do. I'm just wiping my surface because it's a bit buttery and messy. So I'm just being a clean cook. What can I say? I don't like mess. I have to clear up as I go. Okay, that's what it looks like before the sesame seeds. Okay, can you see it?
Thank you.
Ours is very similar, but in a square box. I mean, a square tin.
That's fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, I don't think you.
I'm just going to put my sesame seed on. Right. Now, whatever the recipe time is given, I always take at least 10 minutes off. I set my oven for 10 minutes off, and then it reminds me that I have to check. And if it's not done, I can do it for another 10 minutes or whatever. Okay, I've sprinkled my seeds. I've made my spiral, and it's going in the oven. And it goes in for between 30 and 40 minutes. And I'll set it. Okay, right. Now then, if you are still rolling or whatever, please just carry on, and I will start when I've cleared up a little bit with my cheesecake, because I'm very aware that time is galloping as usual. It always does. Okay, so I've got a nice clean surface now, and I'm going to talk about my cheesecake. Right, the cheesecake I'm making is a traditional baked cheesecake. The very light, fluffy ones, the American style cheesecakes, to me, don't really speak of Yontif, as I said before. This is the one that I like, but everybody has their favorite. But I thought I would do this one today. Now, if you've got your pencil and paper handy, I will give you the ingredients. If you don't get the ingredients all down and you really want to make it, it is an Evelyn Rose recipe, so you can look it up if you've got her cookbook. And also, if you want to email me, I will send it to you online. So don't worry.
Lesley, can I suggest that if you let me have the recipe, the ingredients and the recipe for the cheesecake, and also the preparation for this, what we're doing now, what we've just done, I will then email it out to everybody if it's easier for you.
Arlene, that's very kind, but I don't mind either way. Okay, so this recipe, it's baked in a pastry case. Now, the pastry I made in the food processor because, again, it is just easier. And I'm sure you've all made a similar pastry to this, so it's not difficult. It's 6 ounces of self-raising flour, 4 ounces of butter, 2 ounces of icing sugar, 1 egg yolk, and 1 tablespoon of cold water. And that's just made in the traditional, you know, chopping or rubbing. But nowadays it is really good if you've got a food processor to do it in that. The only thing I should say is don't over process it because it will go sort of greasy and not very nice. Just enough to bring the pastry together. Now, because this pastry needs to be chilled before you roll it out and line your tin, and it then needs to be chilled again before you put the filling in, I did this morning. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like. Right, this is in a 9 or 10-inch spring clip tin, okay, which I just very quickly greased with a little bit of butter. And I rolled out my pastry. I don't know how you guys roll your pastry, but I find the easiest is to use one of the silicone rolling mats, which is really good because you can get the right size. But whatever, you just need to line your tin, and I've tried to make it nice and neat around the top, but you can always neaten it off later on. Okay, so here's my mixing bowl, and I'm just going to get my ingredients. Right, the traditional cheesecakes were always made with the proper slightly sour Kes. Now, this is the nearest I could get at Kelman's. It's a medium fat soft cheese. And we have 12 ounces, okay? You can use whatever you can find, and you can flavor it and adjust how much everything you put in according to cheese you use. But this is for the more traditional sort of cheesecake. So I'm just going to put that into my mixing bowl.
Lesley, you don't use
Lesley,
Lesley,
yes.
you don't use biscuits at the bottom?
No biscuits, crushed biscuits?
No, it's pastry. I just showed you the pastry
Oh,
case.
instead of the thing you use pastry. Okay, right.
It's a
Right.
an enriched pastry.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So we've got 12 ounces of medium fat soft cheese, 2 ounces here of ground almonds. Again, this is all going in together, so I'm just going to tip it in. 1 ounce of soft butter, which I'm popping in now. Actually, that butter doesn't feel very soft. I'm just going to pop it in the microwave for just a few seconds. Because it's still winter, my kitchen is quite cold. What can I say? Okay, and we're going to put in 2 ounces of ordinary sugar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is to sharpen up the cheese flavor a little bit because some of the cheeses now are a bit bland. And I have separated 3 yolks from 3 whites. And I'm going to ask my sous chef, would he please go and whip the egg whites for me? If you take off, he's very willing. I don't know how able he is, but he is very willing. So you will hear him in the background. Right, the 3 egg yolks are going in with the cheese. Stop just a moment. Oh. Right, I've just stopped him so that I can tell you the rest of. Hang on, no. I'm going to put in half a teaspoon of vanilla essence. And I'm also going to add the grated zest from half a lemon. Again, I did that earlier just to save time. Okay, so all that is going in, and hopefully my butter will now be soft. That's the butter going in. And now hold it down. Hold it down. Yeah. What? Hold it right in. Okay. Okay.
Lesley, your screen is frozen.
Sorry, has it?
Yes, you're okay now.
Yeah, I wasn't talking because Ian was whipping the egg white, so it hadn't actually frozen, I don't think. Okay, 6 tablespoons of white raisins or sultanas. I mixed up everything else that was in the bowl. Okay, so I've mixed my fruit in together with the egg yolks, the almonds, the vanilla essence, the sugar and the butter, and the lemon juice and the lemon rind. Now, don't need to over whip the egg whites, but that's about the right consistency. And I'm very gently going to fold that in to this mixture. I'm going to do it gently because I want to try and keep some of the air in the egg whites. That's the point of whipping them, just to lighten it a little bit. This is not a light, airy-fairy result. It's quite a firm, solid mixture, but as I've already said, it's one that I particularly like. And if you go online, I think you'll find, like a million other Jewish cooks are demonstrating cheesecake at this time of the year. And they are, each one seems to be more exotic than the one before. But as a traditionalist, I still like this one. Okay, so that's mixed in. And now all I need to do is fill my pastry case, which is here, with my mixture. There's the pastry case, which I prepared earlier. And now I'm just going to pop in my mixture and just gently smooth it out. You could, if you wanted to, you could trim the pastry down a little bit now, or you can do it after it's cooked. But I have made the top quite neat, so I'm not going to trim it just now. Okay, and I'm just going to smooth that around. Again, this will freeze very well. The first one that I made, just to check, looked so delicious when it came out of the oven, but instead of putting it in the freezer, and I tried it, and then it got eaten. But so I had to make another one, which is one I made earlier, but I've forgotten to take it out of the freezer, so I could have saved myself the job. Okay, there you go. Can you see? Just smooth down and ready to pop in the oven. Now, this goes in the oven at a little bit cooler than the pastry. So I'm not going to put it in yet. I'm going to wait until my pastry is finished. I'm just going to have a look at it. No, it's looking good. It's not ready, obviously, but it's looking good. Okay, any questions or comments? Or complaints, Ian? Ian says.
How long do you cook the cheesecake for?
Oh, the cheesecake goes in for, I think, I haven't written down how long. I think it's about 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes. But again, I always put things in for a shorter time, check them, and you'll know when it's done. It should be a nice deep gold on top. The one that I've put in the freezer, I slightly overcooked and it is a little bit too brown, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
You didn't tell us what number. You didn't tell us what.
Yes, I go for or 385, 350, sorry, 300, sorry, 180, or regular 4 if you've got gas. Okay.
Lesley,
But
Fan oven.
is that a fan oven?
no, this is not fan temperature. If you've got a fan oven, take off 10 or 15 degrees.
Yes, 106.
And I tend, yes, if it says 180, I tend to do in my fan, I'll do it at about 170. But I do always check. I don't just put it in and leave it for the full time, because every oven is different and people get different results. And often where people think things have gone wrong, it's because their oven is slightly different, there's a different setting, and they haven't adjusted for it. So just, you know, I'm sure you've all made as many cheesecakes as I have, and I'm sure you've all got as many recipes as I've got, but I hope you enjoy them. The spanakopita, I'm really not very good at remembering how to say this, but is really nice, can be frozen. And in fact, I have got one in the fridge.
You've frozen again. Lesley, you've frozen again.
You can
Lesley,
sauce.
Just a minute,
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you. You froze again for a couple of minutes.
Oh, sorry.
About 1 minute, actually.
About a minute, just before, just what did you say about, before you said about freezer?
Before I said about the freezer, that it does freeze very well. That's basically all. I don't think I said anything. Just check your timings, just use your own discretion, look at things. The sauce to serve with it is just Greek yogurt with some chopped up herb, which we used before, whose name has totally gone out of my mind.
Dill.
Thank you. With a little bit of chopped up dill in it, and a little bit of salt and pepper. It's about 225 grams of Greek yogurt, a little chopped dill, and a little bit of seasoning. Just mix that up, and that's quite nice to serve with it. And also, if you're making this in individual pieces, which I suggested you might like to try, it's quite nice to use it as a dip. You know, make the sauce and just put it in a bowl, and then people can just dip in. Just one little thing before I finish. Last year, I'm sure you all remember, Shibuwat was hot. I don't think that's going to happen this year, but last year when I made my cheesecake between two of us, you know, didn't seem very friendly. So all our neighbours, all our Jewish neighbours, and there were dozens of them, we have a big green communal area. We all stood 2 meters apart. We all had our masks and our gloves and our disposable plates. And I cut up my cheesecake and we all shared it outside. This year, we'll be a little closer to maybe being inside, not quite, but nearly. So I hope that you enjoy these recipes, and I hope that you have been able to follow me. And I'm sorry about freezing. I wasn't aware that I had frozen.
But Lesley, you've missed out one important ingredient, and you should really, you know, take a notice of this. Where is your glass of wine at the end?
Well, your sous chef. Your sous chef.
Lesley, how do I know when it's ready? How do I know when it's cooked?
Well, you know when it's cooked, when it's a nice golden brown, okay?
Right.
And it should go a nice sort of baked golden brown colour. If you want, you can eat it. It's perfectly. I have to tell you, Ian's now licking the spoon in the background from the cheesecake. But never
More
mind.
importantly, has he got a stirrup pump to come and relieve me if this goes wrong?
What a cheek. You're frozen again.
Frozen again. So you've frozen, and I can't say thank you on behalf of everybody. Come, there you are.
Oh, but I'm not frozen on mine.
Well,
I'm
you
not
are
frozen on mine, Daphne.
But at least, thank God, your
Oh, I'm
internet
so
is working
sorry.
nearly. It's nearly working, so that we had a wonderful lesson.
Yes.
And thank you so much on behalf of everybody. I know you worked very hard to prepare, and I know that everybody now is going to have a lovely Shavuot meal and a lovely cheesecake. They're all going to enjoy it and think of you. And thank you very, very much. And a special thank you to your sous chef as well for all his help. And stop it sticking the
He's
spoon.
busy shaping the bowl.
Look at him. Anyway, thank you very, very much.
welcome.
And we
Is he
look forward
licking
to
the bowl or washing up?
licking the bowl, he is, I think. We look forward
Lesley,
to
Lesley, if you could send me all the details, ingredients, and you know, I don't know what
I
you call it,
will.
how to cook both,
Yeah.
and then I've got them, and I can then email them to everyone.
Marlene,
still
can I ask
okay.
you a question? Marlene, can I ask you a question? Have you finished
Certainly.
chopping yet?
Can somebody please put the ingredients for the phyllo recipe up? I can't
Yes,
find my email.
well, yes. What Lesley will send me is you've got the ingredients for the phyllo. She'll send me the step-by-step how to make it. And then we will do the ingredients and the method for the cheesecake as well.
How do you suggest cutting the cake, the first dish up to serve to people as it's all crispy?
Well, it will crumble. What can I say?
Frozen.
Yeah.
You've got it in.
Never mind that. Leslie's crumbled.
Well, she's frozen. Frozen cake.
I use one of those old-fashioned
there you go.
stone-handled knives, and I find that better. But you know, it will crumble. But
yeah, thank you.
You're very
Lesley, can you could bake it in little spirals, couldn't you? In, you know, your lovely round pan. Instead of
you could bake it in little spirals, yeah.
And then there would be, you could serve each one sort of
now, why
separately.
didn't I think of that, Joy?
Yeah, the answer to
idea.
The answer to Howard as to when the cake is ready is when the fire alarm goes off.
No, that's well done. That's well done.
No, do
Enjoy it. Enjoy your dinner tonight, people who have actually cooked it today.
Yeah, I'm just going to get mine out of the oven. Hang on 1 minute.
Leslie, could you do me a favor? Can you send the 2 recipes to Marlene, because I would love to have them.
Yes, I will.
She's going to. She's going to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very
Can
much.
the people who made them put a comment on, I don't know, send an email around or send them to Marlene so she can, so we can all hear how you got on with them and what they tasted like, etc. That would be fun. Difficult.
Do we have permission to lie?
Yes, you can lie. You can lie. That's what it looks like. That's almost ready.
Lovely.
Not quite, but almost.
Lovely.
You said 40 minutes.
Yeah, but my oven is very quick, Howard.
Oh, right.
It's not done yet, Howard. It's not the right colour.
Right. It's like
Mine's been in 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's been in 25. I think mine
I think you should take
done in about 35.
If you frozen it,
I think you should, Howard, I think you should take a photograph of yours and send it to Marlene, and then she can circulate it to everybody.
Lesley, if you
If mine,
Does it have to be cooked after you've taken it out of the freezer? If you've frozen it after it's been cooked and you want to freeze it and then you want to eat it, does it have to be recooked a little?
I would just pop it in the oven to freshen it up, but just for a few minutes.
Just to reheat.
Yeah, I defrost it and then just pop it in the oven, because if you defrost pastry, it does tend to go a little bit soft. So I pop it back for a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. But certainly serve it with the sauce, because, you know, if you cook it again, it may dry a little bit.
Well, if you see,
very enjoyable.
If anybody sees Stanley and I again after today, you know it worked out okay.
Yeah, I was thinking much the same, Marlene.
Howard, what time are we coming over for supper?
I'd walk very slowly if I were you.
I did say right at the beginning, I was leaving town tomorrow morning. So.
Yes. Well,
are you taking your cooking with you?
I strongly suggest you leave this evening.
I think we'll all end up at a Greek restaurant with the takeaway, I think.
No. I've been looking forward to this for months.
Oh, good. Enjoy, Howard.
Pardon?
Enjoy, everybody.
Oh, I will.
Howard, do you want to say anything about Thursday?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, I forgot to say.
Looks amazing.
Yeah.
Well done, Lesley.
I look
It
forward
looks
to seeing-
fabulous.
Thank you.
Don't forget, everybody. Karen
And the
Tedesco
cheesecake sounds
Okay.
brilliant too.
Look forward to all the survivors to be on screen on Thursday. All those missing, I know it didn't work out quite as it should have.
Okay, everybody.
Bye. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lesley. Thank you, Lesley.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well done.
Well
Great.
done.